What's up everyone, it's Gannon Buhr here, the PDJ Rookie of the Year and the Disc Golf Pro Tour Rookie of the Year, and I'm going to show you what's in my bag today. So starting off with putting putters, I putt with the 350G PA3 with the Kevin Jones logo on them. This run specifically has a little more grip than other runs, and it's really stiff, which I prefer, especially on tour. We play in a lot of hot climates, so these are super stiff and great grip, so I really recommend those. With my throwing putters, right now I only have 4. I usually carry around 5 or 6, but a couple I've beat up and I've lost a couple as well. But a big staple in my bag is the A2. A lot of prodigy players throw these. These are extremely overstable, always reliable. No matter how much power I put on it, if I throw it flat or even a slight bit of anhyzer, it always finishes on a pretty spiky hyzer angle, and I prefer this for sidearm touch shots as well. Here's a 300 PA3, so just like my putting putters, but in a little bit of a softer plastic. I like this for sidearms specifically more, or if I need to throw it backhand and land it soft, knowing it's going to grab the ground, whereas like a premium plastic might slide a little bit. Here's a Duraflex P Model US. These actually are not understable, surprisingly, which is kind of funny, but they feel great in the hand and they're super torque resistant, which is what I'm a big fan of as well. You can kind of just rip them on whatever angle you want, and they hold it, and they go really far for a putter, and definitely a staple in my bag. And they have a pretty unique flight to where they never really have any fade at the end. They kind of just hold the angle you want it to. And when you think it's going to fade, it just stays going straight. And then for my flippy throwing putter, I have this First Run PA4. This one actually is a little domier, you could say, a little higher in the profile, but feels really great in the hand. This one I've had for a couple years now in my bag, and it's been pretty much the exact same. Maybe now recently it's been flipping up a little bit more for me, but I prefer it on a slight hyzer angle and then to flip over and fly right. Or if it's a short hole and I really need a straight shot and I can power down and know it's gonna go straight the whole time. Moving into my mid-ranges that I carry in my bag, right now I have 4. Starting off, I have the Test M2. This is probably my most used mid-range. I love the feel in the hand. It fits my hand really good. The plastic hasn't been released, honestly, but it's got great stiffness, very similar to a 400G or a 750. Yeah, this thing is so durable. You know, you'd never really have to replace them, but it's just dead straight for me, and never really goes off the line. But the part I like about it is it doesn't really flip over. It kind of just holds straight and then doesn't really fade much at all. So you can kind of rip it in any conditions or wind, and it kind of does the same thing. Next up is my 400G M4s. I have 3 of them actually, 2 from the same run. This one is pretty new. It's hit a couple trees obviously, but the dome really helps it carry straight, gives it a ton of glide, which I love personally. The feel of this disc is amazing, and I throw it on a slight hyzer. It always flips up to flat and glides a little bit right, but it never has a fade at the end, which is what I'm a big fan of, and it suits my game very well for the lines that I like to throw. Here's one from the same run. Like I said, this was Kevin's old M4, and you know, got a little too flippy for him, but it fits a slot in my bag perfectly on that little more hyzer to flip up to flat and glide right. Or I've thrown a couple times on a steep hyzer, and then it flips up to a not as severe of a hyzer, but it glides straighter for longer. And yeah, just a little more beat up, but flies super good and feels really nice. And then my last one, this one has worked wonders for me. It's a flat top M4 from a couple years ago. It's actually 175. Most of my stuff is max weight, but this one specifically, I didn't even know it was a little bit lighter weight. I just was throwing it and liked how it felt and how it flew. And it's flown the exact same ever since I got it. Just a little bit of a flippier mid-range on a lot of hyzer to always flip over and turn. And it has a very unique, super late turnover, so I can throw it on a hyzer and hold the hyzer, and at the end it'll come up to flat and then just ride right, but not really dump right. So anything in the woods I have to throw really hard on a hyzer, I'll probably throw this one. Next up are my fairway drivers. I have 4 in the bag right now. I usually carry 4 or 5, but like I said, I've lost a couple discs recently, and some have beat up. But here's a 500 FX2. This is a staple in my bag as my overstable fairway. It's just really consistent for me. This one's pretty beat up, but flat top, I can throw it really hard on a flat line, and it never turns over for me, but it also doesn't have a ton of fade. It's just kind of a laser beam disc, and I do prefer it for sidearms a lot too, because I can just pipe it down a gap and it stays in the same line the whole time with a little bit of a right finish at the end. Here is a 400 F3. This is a older run, but it has a little dome to it, which I prefer for a fairway driver, especially one that I want one to kind of hyzer flip and turn over a little bit. This one, I throw on a little bit of hyzer, pops up to flat and turns a little bit right. So if you've seen like Northwoods Black, I throw it on hole 1. It's just a really consistent fairway driver for anything I need to go dead straight. That goes a little bit further than my 400 GM4s. I have a 400 F7 in the bag, another older run. This one's got, like I said, nice dome to it. It's really understable, but anything in the woods, I need a lot of hyzer. I'll throw it on that angle and then have it flip up, ride straight. Or, I mean, I don't throw many rollers, but if I do, it's gonna be with this disc. And my last fairway driver is a hybrid series. This is a H1 in the 750 plastic, the OG H1 specifically. And these are just insanely overstable. Like, I probably can't throw it more than like 350 feet because it's so overstable. A little bit of a domey one, which I do prefer in this run. And it's just, no matter how much anhyzer I put on it, it always comes out and finishes on a hyzer angle. And it's really predictable in any type of wind. And then finally, my drivers. I have a good bit of them now. Starting off with the X1. This is just the big brother to the H1. You can kind of see there, just a little bit of a faster disc. And this one's flat top. This one's maybe even a little bit more overstable than the X1, or the H1. And yeah, just super predictable. And if it's ever insanely windy, I'll throw this, or I need a skip shot or a forehand roller to go straight. You may have seen this one when I throw a lot of sidearm shots through the woods or just sidearm bombs. It's a Proto D1. This one I like to pop out on a little bit of a hyzer angle to flat, and then kind of just have it ride flat. That's kind of my preferred angle, is a slight hyzer out of the hand. And it's really consistent, and it's flown great for me so far. I actually don't throw this disc backhand at all, which is pretty much the only disc in my bag that I don't do that with. Next up is probably my most used distance driver. It's the 400S D1. This is just an older run of D1. They took away the S, but this run specifically is a 166, and it is straight beef. This thing is so overstable, which I love, and I can throw it on a flat line, which is my favorite angle for this disc, and it always has that slight hyzer finish. It doesn't quite dump, but it always has a slight hyzer, and it just pushes for so long and has so much glide. This is also a run that Ricky used to throw back in the day when he was with Prodigy, so super great disc. I have two D2s in my bag, both in the 400G plastic. I have this one, which was my go-to at the preserve if you watch any coverage. This one is really flippy, but controllable at the same time. Any tailwind, I'll put it on a slight bit of hyzer, it'll flip up to flat and ride right. So it's kind of that max distance bomber disc for me, and it feels really good for a sidearm. If I need a max distance sidearm, this is what I'm going to throw instead of the D1. The D1's more of a accurate sidearm disc for me, or if I need to hit a gap, but this thing just bombs. And then here's kind of the flippier version of that, maybe a little bit more dome to it, but it's just a little more understable, just one more tick, and I either throw on more hyzer or on the same line, but know it's going to flip over a little bit more. And if I ever do throw a roller, it's going to be with this probably. I got two D3s in the bag. I have a 400 and then a 400G. These are both old runs. This is a Bowling Green D3. If you've heard about it, you know what it is. Kevin Jones, pretty much all the top Prodigy players throw it right now. It's just so overstable. They don't fly like a D3, so this is my overstable distance driver. I'll throw this if I need a little more distance than like the X1 or the D1s, but it just has a really great profile to it. Feels great in my hand, and it's just so consistent. That's what I love about it, and you know, these are really awesome to have. Here is the disc I'm going to use if it's a wide open course, but I still need to stay in the fairway. It's going to have a little more flip up than that purple D1, so it'll hyzer flip and kind of ride right, but it also always has a stable finish. So really it's a disc that I can just rip and know it's going to go where I want it to every single time. So courses like Jonesboro or the Des Moines Challenge at Pickard, this is my main disc. And then my last disc in my bag is the 400 GD4. This one's pretty beat up, but it's just really flippy. If I need a quick roller, I'll throw it flat and it'll start to roll, or a super flippy sidearm get out of jail shot, or a super flippy backhand shot, or tomahawk if I ever throw those. So that's my last disc in my bag. I have a couple more that I'm working with right now. These are the new line of drivers from Prodigy. Here I have the D1, the Kevin Jones reverb, and the Kayla Visca Falcor. The D1 is just nice and overstable. The plastic is great and stiff, and the rim depth is a lot deeper than the rest of the D1s. So it feels great in my hand, which I prefer. So that'll be a disc that I'll throw for a lot of sidearms or an overstable backhand shot. Here is the reverb, sorry about that. This is the Kevin Jones reverb, and it has a little bit of dome, and it has that same rim depth as the D1, which I prefer, a little bit deeper disc, so this is perfect for me. The plastic is perfect. This is in the 400 plastic, but this one I can kind of just grip out flat, and it kind of just has a slightly overstable flight, so it just slightly turns left at the end. Flies super great, and it feels amazing, which I'm a big fan of. And then here's the Falcor. This is probably going to be my max distance disc when I want to stay in the fairway for this upcoming season. I just have to work with it a little bit more. But yeah, this thing is perfect shape in the hand. I can throw it on a little bit of a hyzer. It pops up to flat, rides right, and has a little bit of a finish. So I can trust this in any wind and know it's going to have the same flight no matter what. So that's all for discs in my bag. I have a couple of other accessories, obviously. One of my favorites is the Bushnell rangefinder. I use this a lot whenever it's a wide open course where there's no trees, because it's kind of hard to judge the distance. So I know how far I can throw my discs. Like the M4 would be 400 feet, or the D1 would be maximum 500 feet. So I know exactly that if that is what the Bushnell says, that's the disc I should throw. So that helps a ton. Obviously I usually have a water bottle in here, but then I have some minis as well. Obviously just gotta have some minis. And then my favorite part is the Rubik's Cube. I'm a big fan of these. I do these a lot during backups and stuff, and this is gonna help a lot on tour this year, so I'm excited for that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching my In the Bag. That's all I have so far, and stay tuned for some more videos, and thank you for all the support so far.